So as you think about the importance of sharing our stories, how does that come into older adults that, may not have a lot of younger adults currently in their church, reaching those younger adults yet again?
I mean, I think our story is really the only thing that we've got. And so
Hmm.
we need God's perspective on our story in a whole new way. And
Hmm.
I think the enemy would say to us, your story doesn't really matter. It's not that exciting. But the whole point is that God's given us a story and
Hmm.
it contains incredible treasures that we must pass on to the next generation. So really our role in this as spiritual parents and with our story, it chimes with the Old Testament with number
Hmm.
6, where there's that ironic blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The
Hmm.
Lord make his face shine upon you, and the Lord be gracious to you, and the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
Hmm.
And we love that blessing.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a blessing that's designed to tumble down the generations, because the
Hmm.
next verse kind of gives the context, which is where I think the spiritual parenting comes in. It says,
Hmm.
the next verse says, so that they will put my name on the children of Israel and I will bless them. And it's really about this identity in God that is being passed down. And some of the way that gets passed down is because we ourselves have found our identity in God, and it's
Hmm.
contained in our story,
Hmm.
all of it. And I think this is what I feel is a very pertinent message right now, that
Hmm.
that your life up until now, everything that
Hmm.
happens has happened to you. Every
Hmm.
circumstance that you've journeyed through, God wants to draw a bigger circle around it. He wants you to learn the lessons from it in order that you can put his name on the next generation, in order that you can share your story with a sense of, I recognize what God has done in my life.
Hmm.
And it isn't really about sharing our wisdom. It's actually really about sharing our lives. It becomes evident when we begin to own our story, it will
Hmm.
begin to flow from us. It isn't something that we have to work at sharing, but we might have to work at owning, um,
Hmm.
particularly where there's been maybe disappointments or things that haven't
Hmm.
worked out. And because of that, we move on quickly because it's painful, and we just want to get out of there. God, get me out of that context. But I think
Hmm.
by his grace, he's wanting us to revisit some areas of our story and
Hmm.
said, actually, there's some
Mhm,
lessons for you to learn. And I want to
mhm,
show you the treasure that was being formed in
mm,
that place of pressure and that hard place, because you need to
mm,
claim it. There's unclaimed treasure in your
mm,
life
mhm,
that is connected to your story.
mm,
And part of putting my name on the next generation is that you get to give it away. You
mhm,
get to, you get to sow it into the next generation. So I think
mhm,
that's a very compelling reason why we
mhm,
we we need to recognize that. And it's not about comparison. We can't,
mhm,
we've only got our own story. We've got
mm,
to own it. And we might need the help of friends to draw it out,
mm,
as we learn to tell it and
mhm,
recognize what is it that God has done in our lives.
mm,
How did we get from there to here?
mhm,
How come we're still opening our hands to him and worshiping him? And what's gone on? Well, something's gone on, that is actually glorious, and
mhm,
it needs owning, Barry. And I
mhm,
think this is the message to some of those in the second half of life
mm.
who the world says you're finished, but God's saying, no, 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 no. Actually, for some of you, you're just getting started.
Well, what's
Depending on your personality, you might not
mhm,
imagine yourself, sitting in a chair when you're 80,
mm,
reflecting on your life. But
yeah,
I've done that
yeah.
a little bit, and I've been with people in their 80s who've sat there reflecting on their life.
Mhm,
And one of those people was my grandfather, who I
mhm,
really respect, and he had a
mhm,
full life. He did some remarkable things, but when he sat in his chair, aged 80, he's like, Rich, I'm not sure I really ever did anything with my life. And I'm like, no,
mm.
oh,
Oh,
that's not
wow.
true. That's
Mm,
not true. He did all these things.
mm,
But his perspective was, maybe I didn't give as much as I could have given to the things that really
Mhm.
mattered.
Mhm.
And, and maybe I didn't risk as much as I could have done. And
Yeah.
so I think there's something daring that God is
Mm.
inviting people into in the church at this time that will
Mhm.
require some risk. It will
Mm.
require some bravery, both
Mhm.
in giving themselves away and maybe what they've stored up this side of heaven, which won't be much
Mm.
use to them before too long. And so there's a radical invitation to
Mm.
put God's name on the next
Mm.
generation and exhaust them in every way we can.